everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we'll be reacting to the midweek games in the English Premier League and the Scottish Premier League, talking a little bit transfer news, and at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So we'll start off with the English Premier League midweek results. So on Tuesday, the 14th of January, the results finished: Brentford 2, Man City 2, West Ham United 3, Fulham 2, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 2, Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 1. And today, which was Wednesday the 15th of January, the English Premier League results, they finished Everton 0, Aston Villa 1, Leicester City 0, Crystal Palace 2, Newcastle United 3, Wolves 0, and Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1. So, Pearse, which match stands out to you the most?
I'm going to go with Newcastle 3, Wolves 0. I just think that Newcastle are really rich for the form at the moment. I think, in particular, Alexander Isak, who did pick up the Player of the Month in the Premier League last month, got a double in midweek as well. And also Anthony Gordon got another goal as well. So I think they two are the catalyst for Newcastle's improvement in form, because I think they had a wee bit of a sticky start to the season. Slow burners, but slowly but surely, they're really cooking with gas, to be honest, because that's now 9 wins in a row for Newcastle, which I think is really, really impressive form. And there's some big teams in there. You've got Leicester, Brentford, Ipswich, Aston Villa, Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, obviously Bromley in the FA Cup, and now Wolves in the Premier League. So I think they'll take some stopping, to be honest. I think you can see that Eddie Howe's really a top class manager, and I think he's getting the best out of the team. And I think they're getting a consistency in their game that against any team where they have to sit in and counter attack, they've got the pace, and even for set pieces as well, they're really dangerous. So I think the fact is that Newcastle, the way they're scoring goals, the way especially the front two in terms of Gordon and Isak, I think they're really, really impressive in terms of the goal scoring and assists at the moment. And I think I had to mention the form as well. That's 9 wins on the bounce in all competitions. So I think that's really, really impressive. And for me, they're the most informed team in the league at the moment. So thought I'd mention that game.
Yep. The game that stands out to me is Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1. So that game just finished just kind of an hour or so just after we recorded this. So a big win for Arsenal. Obviously, North London derby. They always want to beat the closest rivals, which they did. But that win for Arsenal means that they cut the gap to 4 points on Liverpool. Liverpool do have a game in hand, but it was a big win for Arsenal. They played well during the match, dominated the game. You know, controlled it, had most of the possession, had the best chances in the game. They were worthy runners, but they do have a big issue with a striker. They're really struggling to score goals. Again, they scored from a corner in this match. The first goal came from Gabriel, who's just an absolute beast when it comes to set plays. He's just in the air. He's just an absolute monster to deal with. He heads everything. Defensively and going and attacking as well. He was man of the match in that game as well, and it was fully deserved. But yeah, so Arsenal again scored from a corner kick. And yet they did manage to get through that game 2-1. So big win for them. Whereas Tottenham, I think that's now 3 points they've collected from a possible 27, I think, which is a very, very poor run of form. They do have their issues at the moment with injuries. They've got young Archie Gray playing at centre-back, and he's not even a recognised centre-back. He is a midfielder, so it kind of goes to show the difficulties they've got at the moment. So I think Tottenham fans, their patience might be running thin a little bit with Postecoglou, but I think he needs his best players back, and he definitely needs his goalkeeper Vicario, Van der Ven, and Romero. So Van der Ven, Romero are two centre backs as well. He definitely needs these three players back because they're leaking goals as well when they just don't have that stability at the moment. So it's tough times for Tottenham. They definitely, for me, they definitely have to make some signings this January. They've already made a signing, young goalkeeper who played tonight. He had a bit of a nervy game. But for me, they definitely need to sign a centre back or two, and I definitely think they need to sign a striker or a forward player. I think they do. I think they are kind of struggling up there as well. So yeah, that was a game that stands out to me the most. Just sticking on the Premier League, Pearse, I just want to ask you. So we touched on Everton 0, Aston Villa 1. So throughout the week, so last week we found out that Everton had sacked Sean Dyche as manager, and they have replaced him with David Moyes. So I just want to ask you, Pearse, what's your thoughts on David Moyes being appointed Everton manager?
I think it's a no-brainer. I think obviously he knows the club very well. He was there for a very long time, I think 9, 10 years, his first spell. And every year they got them competing in the top half or in Europe. And he was building a side that was consistent. Every year he was doing a rebuild. And he was doing it on a shoestring budget. And then he then got the Man United job off the back of that. Man United job didn't really go to his plan. And then a couple other clubs like Sociedad, Sunderland, to name a few. But then when he got the West Ham job on two separate occasions, he was superb, won him a European trophy. And I think West Ham are struggling this season. And I think they can be doing with a David Moyes. So I think for me, he's a top class Premier League manager. And I think it feels like it's such a feel good factor of an appointment because it's what's right with football. Someone like that who had such a legendary status at the club has come back for a second spell, and I think he will get them back to their best because I think he's a good manager. He'll make them more solid. He'll have everyone hard working. They'll score goals. So yeah, I think I think there's a 2 year deal in it with options for a third. I think this season it'll be a bed in process of seeing who is fit for next season, what players he'll go out today, what players he'll go to bring in. He'll identify in January and in the summer. But I think Everton, under his tutelage, will only get better, and I think they will definitely stay in the division. And I think next season they'll challenge for the top half. And I think he's a really good manager, and I think given time, he'll get Everton back to potentially where the fans think they should be, which is the top half of the table competing for Europe.
Yep, I agree. I think it's a very good appointment. I think at the moment it's a manager. It's a kind of manager Everton need. I don't. If any Everton fans are watching this, they might agree with me. They might agree with me, or they might not. But I think they are in a relegation battle. And I think with Sean Dyche, it was getting to the point where I think he actually did a good job with them. But defensively, they were really good. But going forward, they were producing nothing. And that's not going to win you games. And they desperately need to win games at the moment, Everton, because they're really down there at the bottom. But with David Moyes coming back, it ticks all the right boxes for me. He obviously knows the club. He's hugely successful in his first spell. He knows what's required. He made a good. I think he said a good line the other day that he kind of like with since he's left, the signings that Everton have made have not worked, and they've not been Everton signings. So he kind of knows like the kind of profile of players Everton need. In his first spell, I mean, some of the signings he did make was hugely successful signings like Tim Cahill, Stephen Pienaar, Marouane Fellaini. He signed all these players and they turned out to be really good players for Everton.
Seamus Coleman, Leighton Baines,
James Coleman.
Jack Boswell.
I mean, that's forgotten there. I mean,
Aye.
yeah. So I think that as well. It just makes perfect sense for me. I think for David Moyes, I don't think he's going to be looking to the long term future yet. I think short term, he just has to make sure he keeps Everton in this league because they've got the new stadium coming next season, and they desperately want to be in the Premier League with that new stadium. I mean, I think it's an absolute necessity, especially with how nice the stadium looks. But yeah, I think David Moyes, good appointment. I think he'll get Everton going in the right direction again. And yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for David Moyes, so I really do hope it goes well for him in his second spell at Everton. So we'll now move on to the Scottish Premier League results during this midweek. So we only had two. We've only got two matches that were played. So last night, which was Tuesday, the 14th of January, it finished Dundee 3, Celtic 3. And today, there was one match as well, which finished Rangers 3, Aberdeen 0. So, as always, Pearse, which match out of they both stand out to you the most?
I think the match at Dens Park, Dundee 3, Celtic 3. I think you're expecting Celtic to win quite comfortably. And they got off to a perfect start for Luke McCowan scoring his former club. And then Celtic kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. Dundee closed right on the stroke of half time through Celtic's corner. Well, they just get caught in the counter. And I thought Dundee, to a man, once they got a goal, their tails are up. And I think they caused Celtic some problems. And I think defensively, Celtic were a bit suspect. In particular, someone like Austin Trusty, who I think was culpable for the second goal and also the third goal. And I think I'm pretty sure you've maybe seen the clip online of Brendan Rodgers' comment about aimed at Austin Trusty from the touchline. So I think we can probably guess that he won't be in the team for the weekend. It'll probably be back to Liam Scales. Because I think the fact is if I'd Celtic defender recently, if Scales had a shocker at Ibrox, who's out the team, I think Austin Trusty culpable for 2 goals. I think he'll definitely be on the bench at the weekend. But I thought Dundee were really, really good in the transition. I thought they were good for set pieces, and I think they thoroughly deserved their point. And I think also Celtic just showed their never say die attitude until the very end, and they get a 93rd minute equaliser from the penalty spot, which I think we could have no complaints. Silla's hand is raised in an unnatural position, so I think it was the correct call, try to block a Nicholas Kuhn shot, which I think he made a difference coming off the bench. But as you can see, he's still not up to his full speed. But I think within the coming weeks, he'll be back up because I think the Celtic are really struggling at the moment in terms of options in the wide areas. They've only got one fit wing at the moment, and that's Yang. And the fact is they're playing Kyogo in the kind of like a false kind of wing role, and Ida up front on his own. I think you can see that Ida is really struggling at the moment for Celtic. I think that could be a wee bit of a problem going forward because I think that's now 12 games without a goal. And I think his confidence is shot, and I think he just needs anything to go in for him to maybe kickstart his season because I think although Celtic have been terrific this season, I think Kyogo and Ida haven't been at their goal scoring best. I think the goals have come from wide areas and the midfield, and I think that's kind of helped deal with their struggles in terms of goal scoring ability because I think you expect Celtic or Rangers goal scorers to be scoring 20 plus goals in a season in all comps, and it just hasn't. It just hasn't this season for Celtic, and I think January could be an option where they could try bring someone in, or they just need to find a way to get the best out of the two strikers that they've got. But no, that for me was a standout fixture.
Yep, I have to agree. Very entertaining game. In terms of Celtic as a performance, it definitely wasn't one of their best this season. I think they really struggled in the match. They were good in the first half. In the first 20 minutes, I thought they should have been out of sight. They were playing really well, and then they got the goal, and then they just sort of they got the goal to go in the lap, and they just sort of dropped off. I don't know. They just kind of decided just to keep the ball just for the sake of it. They weren't really penetrating. They weren't really kind of doing anything with it. And Dundee get their goal, from a classic counter-attack. It was a very good counter-attack, actually, to get back in the game. And I think they just kind of rose from that, came out second half, played really well. Celtic, they went back in the lead. Dundee made it level again with 2 each, and then Dundee made it 3-2. And then so after Dundee made it 3-2, I didn't really see anything from Celtic to suggest that they were going to get anything from the game. I thought that, for me it looked certainty that they were going to lose, but at the last kind of minute of the game, Nicholas Coon cuts in, he shoots, and it was a clear handball from the Dundee player, and Celtic scored from the penalty. So yeah, it was a poor one from some Celtic. I know what you mean about Brendan Rodgers. He kind of did make, I don't know, he was calling camera and making a certain comment about a certain player. When Dundee's third goal went in. So I think I think we could all assume what he was trying to say there, but he wasn't happy after the match, and I think everyone watching it would agree with him. I think it was a very weak and poor performance from Celtic, but they did get a draw in the end, so not all was lost. But it's unusual for Celtic to score 3 goals and not win the match. So the fact that Dundee has scored 3 goals as well, to me suggests I think Celtic defensively at the moment are a little bit soft. So yeah, definitely was a standout match for me this midweek. I have to touch on Rangers as well. That was a big win for them. Philippe Clement, we've talked about it a lot in the podcast, but he's under big pressure at the moment. And for them to pick up a 3-0 victory against Aberdeen, big result for them. And yet in Scottish Cup at the weekend, so the league action will be taking a break for a week or so. So just sticking on the Scottish Premier League, because I just want to ask you about a potential transfer bit of news from Celtic, and it relates to Kieran Tierney. So Fabrizio Romano, who we all know, the renowned football journalist, he posted about the Kieran Tierney to Celtic situation. So he is saying that the deal was very much on, and it's kind of a complicated situation. So Celtic's current on loan left back Alex Valle is strongly wanted by Como, who are an Italian Serie A side. And if that happens in terms of Alex Valle going to Como, then that will mean that Celtic will be able to advance with the Kieran Tierney deal, and it does look like at the moment that Kieran Tierney will become a Celtic player by the end of January. So I just want your thoughts on that, Pearse.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to happen, because I think obviously, as you know, the connection with Barcelona and Como, because obviously the manager is Cesc Fabregas, the former player, came through La Masia.
Yeah.
Had obviously played for the club, and they've also got a few Barcelona players. Like they've got Sergio Roberto, former captain of the club at the team as well. And I think obviously, I think he's impressed at Celtic on loan, Alex Valle. But I think long term, it's not going to be he's not going to be a Celtic player. This is his only season at Celtic. So I think even Barcelona might even want him to experience a different league, 2 different leagues in one season. He's also played the Champions League with Celtic as well. And obviously, I think that will develop him better for Barcelona. And I think in terms of Kieran Tierney, we've talked on this podcast before about Tierney a couple of weeks ago. It's not if he's coming, it's when he's coming. And I think if he agrees a pre-contract, Arsenal will basically just allow him to leave. In terms of whether it'll be a loan deal or it'll be a cut price deal this window. But I think that one might even go down to the wire in terms of deadline day. We never know. But I think Tierney to Celtic looks a no-brainer in terms of the club, and obviously getting him back for zero, considering sold him for a club record fee at the time. And I think his value to Como makes sense.
Yep. I think it's definitely. I agree. I definitely think it's a transfer that's going to happen. We have talked about it on the podcast before, but today with the news, that kind of breaking news today, it kind of suggests that it's getting even closer now. I wouldn't be surprised the next time we're on the podcast that it's confirmed. we don't know how it'll be confirmed yet. We don't know if it'll be permanently or if it'll be on loan. We don't know the kind of way that'll happen yet. But for me, if it does happen, I think it's probably one of the biggest transfers in recent times in Scottish football, because we know Kieran Tierney's history with Celtic. He has played the league before, but it's obviously his profile is kind of raised massively since he's left Celtic. So for him
I
to
think this
come
is the
back,
biggest transfer since Aaron Ramsey to Rangers, no?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be even that. Just in terms of profile,
Yeah.
it's quite a massive deal to do. Uh, and for Celtic fans, it's a bit nostalgic as well. The fact that kind of one of their own is coming back. I think a lot of Celtic fans will be very, very happy with it. But when it does get confirmed, we'll talk about it more. We'll talk about how we think we'll fit in, and we'll um, kind of discuss how how different he is from the last time. We'll talk about all that more. But just wanted to say on the podcast that the Kieran Tierney deal to Celtic definitely getting closer. So yeah. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so for some Asian football news, so the K League 1 2025 schedule has been revealed. So the opening matches are as follows. So Saturday, 15th of February, we have Pohang Steelers kicking off the opening match on against Daejeon Citizen. That's set for a 1 p.m. kickoff. We've got Jeju SKFC versus FC Seoul, and that is set for a 3:30 kickoff. And then Guangzhou FC versus Suwon FC, who 4:30 kickoff there. And then we've got three matches on the Sunday, 16th of February. And that is Ulsan HDFC versus FC Anyang, who's a newly promoted side from the K2, and that is set for a 2 p.m. kickoff. Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors versus Gimcheon Sangmu, and that's set for a 4:30 kickoff. And then the last match is Daegu FC versus Gangwon FC, and that is also set for a 4:30 kickoff. With the season starting a little earlier than usual, all opening weekend matches are kicking off in the south of the country, where it should be slightly warmer. Friday night football stays with teams taking turns to kick the weekend off early, with the first Friday night fixture set for round 11 when Ulsan host Gwangju and Pohang entertain Gimcheon. The first midweek round is in May also, with Children's Day fixtures on Monday the 5th of May, and four fixtures set for the following evening. In all, there are four midweek rounds in total, and that is rounds 12, 16, 19, and round 23. So Guangzhou FC have completed the signing of Brazilian midfielder Reese from Jeju SK. This is not Reese's first spell with Guangzhou FC, having spent the 21-22 season with the side when they were in the K2. Having lost a number of attacking players in this window, the signing of an experienced Brazilian seems like a no-brainer. And that is all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.